Actor here in Bradley County, and then, or up until the War of the Rebellion, when those fools over in Nashville voted secessionist, I remained a loyal Unionist here in Cleveland. But that wasn't very dangerous at the time, as most of East Tennessee was Unionist sympathizing, and especially Cleveland. However, in 1863, a law was passed that required many of the men who could pick up arms to either work for a Confederate factory or join the rebel army. And as I did not want to do the second option, I worked for the rolling mill down in Chattanooga as a carpenter. They made steel into bullets and the like. The mill itself was owned by a Unionist sympathizer, so I didn't feel that guilty in doing so. Later, I worked there for about 4 months until I heard that General Rosecrans's army was moving in on Chattanooga, and I hightailed it to Knoxville, in part because the way was finally open for me to get there, and also in part because I did not want to be forced to defend the city against Union troops. Up in Knoxville, I joined up with General Burnside's army and fought with him for the rest of the war.
One day when James was up in Knoxville, some bushwhackers came by the house asking for him. I told them that unfortunately he was not home and they would have to seek him elsewhere. They did not believe me, and so they came into the house and they harassed myself and our children, and they so exposed me that my health remained poor until my death many years later.
Rebel dogs. After the war, I went down to Chattanooga to pick up some property that I had left there. I had left in the possession of a friend 2 large sets of tools valued at about $150 apiece. They were very nice, very specialized, very large groups of tools, and I had marked them with my own special mark, so that way I could find them quickly. Imagine my surprise when I get down to Chattanooga and discover that the tools had been confiscated by the Pioneer Corps and were being used by them. I went to the commander in charge of Chattanooga and asked him to return the tools, and he informed me that he had larger matters to deal with and that I was to go on my way. I was perturbed. Fortunately, when the Southern Claims Commission was set up, allowing us loyal Southerners to get financial recompense for our lost property, I put in a claim for $300 for my sets of tools. I brought along as witnesses to my loyalty the sheriff and deputy sheriff of Bradley County, who attested that I had been a loyal Union man the entire time. Unfortunately, the skinflints up in Washington decided that because I had worked for that rolling mill for 4 months, I was a Confederate sympathizer then, and I was not going to get any money back from them. Well, on the better side, the Tennessee Claims Commission accepted my case and paid me $200 of the $300 that I was owed. With that money, in 1871, I started a business here in town, working as both an undertaker and furniture builder.
Now, in our many years of marriage, we had 4 children who grew to adulthood: John, Josephine, Lois, and Mary Robertson. And we had at least 1 infant daughter who's buried here with us, and she died about she was born 3 days after my death, I'm sorry. And her birth was likely the direct result of my death, being that I had been ill for many years, and giving birth to her was the last straw for me. And I knew that I was going to die in those several days after her birth, but I was not afraid, and I knew that I was going to meet my Maker face to face in our heavenly home, and I only deeply regretted having to leave behind my husband and our several small children.
I never remarried after Nancy's death, but luckily we had a servant girl who helped me to raise the children. I grew in prominence here in Cleveland, nowhere near the level of the Greg Miles or the Hardwicks, but I was solidly and comfortably middle class. I served as county treasurer in 1883. And as I gained in prominence, I also happened to put on a bit of extra weight. The year before my death, the doctor informed me that I weighed 250 pounds, and I decided that I needed to lose some of the excess flesh. So I started a weight loss program, sponsored by a Chicago doctor here in town. The doctor turned out to be a quack, and the program caused me to become ill, which resulted in my death in 1893. The Cleveland Journal and Banner eulogized me as a useful member of the community. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your tour and have a wonderful evening.
Are you buried here?